Everyone, hi. Bruce Moffson, LCSW, Sunridge of Nevada, coming at you with another live stream. And tonight, I'm opening myself up tonight. It's a Q&A time. I'm talking about trauma, my own childhood, and a chance to ask any questions you want about myself that you want to know about. And I'll say how this all came about in a second. First, big news today also. My agent / producer / everything says to me, Bruce, we got a shout out. I said, wow, from where? He says, Freddie Gibbs put us up on Instagram and said, hey, shout out to Bruce. And he put a couple of clips of our latest video on, our first video on him. And as a result, people have been commenting, people have been responding. And I want to say thank you. Thank you to Freddie Gibbs. Much, much, much appreciation. Much respect to you. I think you're incredibly talented. And one day, if I ever get the pleasure of meeting you, I will tell you that personally. I think you're excellent at what you do, and your lyrics are fantastic. And it was an honor to cover that song. So now, on the second half, I want to say how this particular live stream came about. And, of course, he answers right away. I want to shout out to him, Charlie Smith. He is a young man, 18 years old, he explained to us last week, an hour outside of London, and he is finishing high school and he's going off to college. Charlie Smith shares the title of being probably one of our best fans and always commenting, always there, and just a tremendous young person. And I was really taken aback by him, as was my producer last week when he told us his age, where he was from, because he had asked if he could meet with me in person to, just to get to know me. And he enjoys the videos. He enjoys what he's gotten from them. And I said to him, well, where do you live? I thought you lived in the United States. And he said, no, I'm an hour outside of London. I'm 18. And I said out loud, I said, Charlie, I said, look, you got more in the ball at 18 than I had at 38. You're a very poised, very professional young man. And if you're not incredibly successful in life, I will be deeply disappointed. And one day, God willing, I hope to go to England and meet you in person and spend some time getting to know you, because I'm just so incredibly impressed by you, as is my producer, that you've had the tenacity. Because guess what time he wakes up in the morning? About 2:30, 2:45 England time, to tune into the live streams. Now, Charlie had said about a month and a half, 2 months ago, he wanted to know if I could do a video basically about me, because he thought I was, I guess, interesting. And he thought, you know what, I'd like to know more about you if you could explain yourself. Another question just popped up. Hey, Bruce. Hey, thank you, Mando fan. Thank you. And he said, I'd like you to talk about yourself and describe various things. Now, he gave me several questions, and here they are. He said, these are topics, I'm sorry. It was childhood, growing up, my experiences, memories, best advice for younger and older generation, traumas, only if you're comfortable with sharing, what made you want to help others, and current life situation, positives and negatives, achievements, and future goals. There you go. Obviously, if you want to change the topic slightly or expand and add on them, more than that would be completely fine. Also, if you don't feel comfortable explaining something, then please don't feel you have to for us viewers. Just the way the guy writes is impressive. Thank you once again. I'm very excited to check in on the upcoming live stream. I'm sure it'll help others possibly relate, but mostly just understand you more. What more can you say to that? So I talked over my producer, and I said, you know what? Let's do it. He resent us the topics. I said, Charlie, tonight's your night, in honor of you, of what you've done, and you've been such a huge supporter and such a huge fan. And as you enter the next phase of your life, going to college, I hope this live stream helps you understand me more. And even more important, I want you to stay in touch with us. I want to know what goes on with your future, with your life, and I want to hear about all your successes and all the things that you're going to accomplish as you grow older. Okay. Thank you, Bruce. Means a lot. Now I'm pretty impressed with you. I was not this poised at 18, 28, 38 when I finally started to get my act together. So I'm pretty impressed by you at such a young age. That's why I'd like to learn more about you and where you come from and how you tick, because my producer's in the room with me. We're both very impressed with you. Okay. Now, here's the thing when I talk about myself, and I'm going to start with my childhood. I'm talking about, it's about my recollections. So the point being is that I don't want to speak. I have a sibling. I don't want to speak for this sibling, and my parents have both have passed away, so they're not here around. And I also have a family, and I have children, and I'm married. I'm not going to say anything that's going to come across as, I don't want, to talk for them. And these are just my recollections growing up, what my experience and my thoughts. I want to show respect to other people at all times. So here we go, going from there. What was my childhood like? That was the first thing that Charlie had asked about, and I want to talk about that. My childhood was unhappy, grim. We were poor. I didn't realize how poor. I knew we were poor. I didn't realize how poor we were till I got older. Domestic violence against my mother, verbal and physical abuse. There was violence. It was very unsettling growing up how I grew up, and I was very unsure about myself. Did not really have a chance to really define my own identity till I got older. And I was unsure of who I was. And I recognized that things were not quite right. There was a lot of fighting, a lot of yelling. I realized as a kid, I was compensating for what I wasn't getting at home and how I was feeling. So, of course, when you want to compensate, you compensate only in a negative way. So I was the class clown. I was always good for a laugh, and I got into, not because of that, but I was also in a lot of fights, having to prove myself. I was ashamed a lot about who I was and no identity. And I had to work. I had a job at a young age. I didn't work, of course, 40 hours, but money was a big, big deal. And I was always running. When I say running, not just physically, but I was always trying to be outside my house. And I spent a lot of time in the local library. And that's kind of where I got into my habit of walking everywhere. I just would go for walks. I didn't do anything crazy. I would just walk for several miles, even as a young person, and then walk back home. Again, nothing nuts, no vandalism, no spray painting, no tagging, but I just would walk a lot. Would take the train somewhere and just walk. And did a lot of train and bus rides, different neighborhoods in Brooklyn, where as I got a little more adventurous, I'd go into what they call the city, which was Manhattan. And what happens is that and this is why I'm bringing this topic up, and again, Charlie, giving you all the credit. I want people to know I'm still pulling shrapnel out of myself. I'm 57 now, and I feel like I'm 80. People say you look your age. That's a nice comment, but that's not how I feel about myself. I feel like an old person. I feel like I'm in my 80s, honestly. And I am still plucking out shrapnel from what I experienced in elementary school and through high school. And it wasn't until I left home, and I'll explain a little bit if I have the time today why I left home. I didn't do anything, again, crazy, but that began to help me shape my own identity and figure out who I was, and that I had to make changes because this was not how I wanted to live and how I wanted to grow. All right, got a comment here. You're good now, man. And another comment from Jose. Can you please do Juice WRLD's album for your next video? Just throw that out right now. He's great. He's great. And there was a comment actually made by someone who said, hey, one of the songs you broke down doesn't even have a video to it. And I wanted to explain to that person that I know that, but the video that was done, the mashup, was so good that I felt it captured so many things about him that I just wanted to use it. So no disrespect to Juice WRLD, obviously. There was no video, but some of these mashups are so good and so detailed. It's almost like they should be doing this full time. Just a very talented person that did it. Another comment came in. Hey, Josh, thank you again, Josh. Always a pleasure. That's interesting because I feel old and I just turned 22. Yeah, there's an expression you hear now in like the last 5-10 years. I've seen it come out of Hollywood. They'll say like you have an old soul. You're an old soul. And And that's like a trendy way of saying like you seem older than you are. I've always been that way. I've always been like, I don't want to say the leader of the group, but I've always been like the old soul of the group, the advisor of the group, the people that go to in the group, always looking out for other people. So I learned that as a child how to adjust, and it's exhausting because you're always trying to think of other people besides yourself, before yourself. And that's something I've done even as I've gotten married. Now my kids are basically grown up, and I've been married for quite some time. I'm always thinking, how do other people do things to make them happy? I'm always putting myself last because that's how I had to grow up, was thinking about my mother's needs primarily. And I had a sibling, a sister. And again, I'm not going to speak for my sister, but it was a grim childhood. I did not realize how poor we are. I'm going to explain this right now, how bad it was. So yeah, Josh, you're not crazy. 22 is what happens. Here's how bad I kind of had it. And that's why when people say, like, sometimes I'll get these, and I go into homes, kids will say, like, you can't relate to me, man. You don't know what I've been through. Yeah, I do. I do. And here's why. And I look at this no matter where I go, I can't help it. I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment, okay, in Brooklyn, rent controlled, which is a dying form. But if you grew up in Brooklyn at a certain time with the 5 boroughs, you know what I'm talking about. Rent control meant that if you lived there, you did not pay market price for an apartment. You paid way below. It was a way to avoid gouging from apartment owners. Well, it only applied to people that were living in the homes. So if you died off, they could then charge market rate. Now, at the time where we lived, this is talking about the late 60s, 70s, early 80s, rents were not insane back then. Now, of course, everything is astronomical in Brooklyn. It's crazy. But we lived in an apartment building, lived there. My sister still lives there, actually. But 2-bedroom. Now, do the math. My parents slept in 1 bedroom, and there was bedroom number 2. Well, it was big, but it wasn't that big. So I grew up sleeping in the same room with my sister. You can imagine how awkward that was. Now, my father, who really did not deliver in a million different ways, his solution was not to say, hey, I got 2 kids. It's not a brother. It's not a sister. Let me go get a bigger apartment, because there were bigger apartments, or get a house. His reaction was to put up like a beam and have a curtain. And that would separate my sister and I, so she would, a private moment, so to speak, like changing, getting ready. We wouldn't be spying on each other. Nothing ever happened. My sister and I understood the insanity of the situation and the surrealness of the situation. So what we would do is we'd say things like, close your eyes, I'm changing, or go out of the room. And that's what we really would do. And I knew my sister, I'm not a girl, but I wanted to respect her privacy. So I would leave the room and let her change or get dressed as she developed, obviously. And, I wanted to just respect my sister. My dad never thought this was a way to live, like this was like a crazy way to live, because he was always comfortable with nothing. And that was the big deal. Now, my sister didn't have a lot of friends come over, if I remember that correctly. They came, but not a whole lot. And I had friends that lived in the neighborhood, and they came. I shouldn't say that. She did have friends that came over. And no one ever said anything to us or made any kind of, comment. But it was always weird to me that, I'm sharing a room with my sister. I could not wait to get out of that room. So at a very early age, I'm talking like 13, 14 years old in high school, I realized I could find work as a waiter and a busboy at these Jewish hotels on the weekends. That's where I started to go, to get out of the house. Also, there were summer camps, and every time I had a chance to go away for the summer, I went. I'd be gone for like late June till the end of August, and I was not home, because home was not a comfortable place to be in. We got some questions popping in. Josh Byrne, okay, Triple E, hey Bruce, listening to your live stream while I'm cooking, reading, or working always provides me with new insight, ways to think about things going on in my life. Thank you. Thank you, Triple E. Much appreciation. So, did not have a happy childhood. It was very, odd, and a lot of fighting, a lot of yelling, and money was a huge factor. My mother ended up having to go to work, and I would think I was in second grade. My mother said, I need to go to work, basically, because we're just basically living above the poverty line because my father never really made much money. A lot of poor decisions, not an aggressive guy, just not a hustler, just didn't like to work. That's kind of how I saw it. So my mother went back to work. I was what they call what they call latchkey kids. That was a term that meant to be that if you were living at home, if you were at home with no mother, you were going to suffer. I loved it. I was happy because I'd come home and my mother wasn't home. My mother would always make food for us, make the food, eat it up, and watch TV. So I thought this was the greatest thing in the world. I liked being a latchkey kid. I liked coming home to an empty apartment. My sister and I went to the same elementary school, and then we split. But I was very happy. My father generally wasn't home in the afternoons, so delighted. And I watched thousands of hours of TV with joy, quite honestly. So, but my mother had to work, not because it was going to be for fun money, but because we were poor. And again, imagine this, living in a rent control apartment. This is Brooklyn in the 60s and 70s. Things are still not insane, and we're still not making it. So it was and I'll tell you how poor we were and how it affected my mother, unfortunately. I'll get to the comments in a second. I once had this idea when I was a kid. I wanted to make like bubbles, have a bubble bath. So I took a thing of shampoo, which back then, how much could it have costed? 50 cents, 60 cents. And I ended up pouring the whole thing into the bathtub to make bubbles, right? And, it's not real bubbles. So it's, you got to use more and more. I ended up using the whole bottle of shampoo, but I was kind of excited. I had bubbles. It was kind of fun. It was kind of cool. My mother came home and she saw what I did and she began to scream at me. And she said, "How could you do that? How could you be so irresponsible? What are you doing? What are you thinking?" And I felt like, 2 cents tall. And she explained to me later, "I'm sorry for yelling at you, but things were really tight at the moment." And even a thing of shampoo was a luxury. I never had any deprived moments. My mother always found a way to make it work, but it hit home. And it affected my sister and I because we bought our own clothes and saved up money. She was a babysitter. Again, I'm not trying to talk about my sister, but just for myself, I did whatever I could to earn money because I realized things were tight. Some things popped in here. Hey, Bruce, Freddie Gibbs saw your video and shouted you out to his Instagram story. Yes. Thank you, Lord. We got the announcement today. When I just said before we started, thank you, Freddie. Much appreciation. And thank you for noticing it. Thank you. And again, guys, right now, this is a time. Q&A, fire away. This is an attempt to really get to understand me. I'll tell you this, guys and girls. When I walk into a home, even if it could be like the worst home, and I've been to some rough places all over the country, I'm always looking to see what the bedroom situation is. If I would have had 2 brothers with 3 brothers, and we all would have had to share, 2 bunk beds, whatever it is, 1, 2, 1, 2, I would have been okay with that, honestly. That I've never, to my knowledge, and I've been into a lot of homes all over the country, I've never seen a brother and a sister sharing a room. I haven't. It's always been like, 2 kids where they have their own room, even in some rough neighborhoods, they have their own room. And that to me is like a luxury. And people will sometimes say to me, like, you can't relate. You don't know what it's like. I get food stamps. I'm like, no, I can. Like, you want to throw down? You want to go back and forth? You want to talk about humiliations? I can talk about that stuff. So when you're very poor, when things are rough, what happens is you got to compensate to fit in. So that's what I became very good at. I was like what they call a chameleon. I could change my spots to fit the occasion. So if I had to be funny, I was funny. If I had to be a tough guy, I was a tough guy. If I had to be like taking the brunt of the jokes, I was taking the brunt of the jokes. I was always trying to fit in because I felt if anyone really knew how bad things were, I would be humiliated. And even going to these summer camps, which my mother paid for, thank God. Back then they were cheap. Again, things now, like you can't, and you got to be grateful for certain things in life too. Like if this would have been 40 years later, a lot of my experiences growing up would have been very, very different because money has changed everything since I was a kid. Things are incredibly more expensive. So a lot of my experiences I never would have had a chance to have, and it would have, kind of shorted me. That's something I notice about today because things have gotten so expensive. That's why I'm always pushing with the kids I work with, stay in school, get an education, go further. You're smarter than that. You're playing ball, play ball. Don't give it up. Don't get the coach get under your skin. Even if you get a D2 scholarship, that's halfway there. Push, push, push. I'm always pushing education because I know that's the ultimate ticket out. That's what saved me. It wasn't the muffs and millions. I could tell you that right now. It was my brains finally waking up and understanding what it is. Now, I also learned about, power and control and how people, can play with your head. And I give an example that happened to me. I got some more comments popping in. We didn't, we had I used to joke it was the family Maserati, right? It was an old clunker that my dad had, whatever. My mother had a license. We didn't have two cars. That's something that's foreign to me since I got married. When I met my wife, that they had multiple cars in the house. Like, you have more than one car? Really? You don't take the bus or train everywhere? So my mother would say to my father, can I just park the car? And I'm okay. So those that are listening, it's not park the car. It's park the car. Okay, regular English. I'm not going to talk Brooklyn, but my mother would try and park the car. And if you live in Brooklyn, you know what it's called parallel parking. It's like an art in itself because you got to squeeze into these really tight spaces. So you got to go back and forth, back and forth. My mom would start to do it, and my dad would start to scream at her and yell at her, and her hands would start to shake. And he'd like, what are you doing? Too close. You're going to hit the car. You crazy? What are you doing? Stop it. She gets so nervous. She'd like this. Hands were shaking. He goes, get out of the car. Move over. I'll park the car. Wow. That was the way of establishing control and also not letting my mother ever drive because having a car means power. Having a car means you can go places. And my dad never wanted my mom to feel secure enough to go anywhere. All right, some questions are popping up. That Canadian guy. Hey, man, I appreciate your content. I commented on your stream about trauma not long ago. I have some new clothes coming in the mail this week. When they arrive, I'll be better prepared to find work. Okay, great. Great. Albert had a question here. Have you ever felt nihilistic? And if so, how have you avoided that mindset? Great question. First of all, that Canadian guy, let me know what happens with work. I'm curious about that. Because we're going to be doing a lot more of this mentorship stuff on like how to be successful when you do these kinds of things. And have you ever felt, Albert asked, you ever felt nihilistic? Yeah. And I don't want to go there. That's what I've learned. I learned I need people. This, man on an island thing, I am a rock. It don't work. It's not real life. How did I meet, I'm going to embarrass him now, but how did I meet my agent / producer and ultimately worked for him for a while was because he knew of me from when I was working at a hospital. He had heard about me and met me, and I didn't remember meeting him. And he was looking to start something, and he asked some people around. He asked another guy who I did work with, who would you recommend? And he says, you got to get Bruce. He's the best. And then I met him. And I meet a lot of people, so it's nothing against them, but trying to remember. He goes, hey, I want you to join and be part of my outfit. That's what happened, because of my personality of always being outgoing, gregarious. Hey, how you doing? My name is Bruce Muffson. How can I help you? Treating everybody with respect. I don't look at like titles or ethnicity or background. I'm always trying to be helpful and friendly. That guy. You got to get Bruce. He's the best. And that's all. This is all because of relationships. So I know how people feel about that. I've had people tell me because they don't trust anybody, they got burned, they were physically abused, they're very much a loner. I don't want to do that. I want to have satisfying relationships. I want to be a good husband, be a good father, and be a good friend to the friends, like people I call my friends. So I hear it. I know it happens a lot. I try to avoid that because I realize I can't do it alone. I need people. Okay. DH Cram, I hope you're doing well. Love your videos. I think it's a very unique idea. I hope Freddie Gibbs giving you a shout out gave you some inspiration. You know what? Thank you for that, DH. Honestly, I got confidence. That's the truth. You know, this is the second time. We've actually had someone else before. I'm not going to say his name out of respect. He contacted us. His agency, not agency, his organization contacted us because of a video that we had done on him. I'm not going to say, I can say that. But we did a video on a certain person, and his people reached out to us and said, he watches your videos and he likes them a lot, and there's a project we want to do with you guys. Nothing of that came to fruition, but he had heard of us. So I'm telling you guys this. I appreciate what Freddie Gibbs did. Believe me, I'm not taking that lightly. It's huge. But I want to say, when you have confidence in yourself and you're putting out material and you're being consistent, you will see results. Consistency and following through is the answer. And again, I give a lot of credit to my producer again / agent, because he's saying to me, Bruce, we got to be consistent, knock stuff out weekly. We had a comment a few weeks ago, someone saying, what happened? I didn't have the live stream. I live for the live stream. We had shot some videos that night, and I have to respond and say to that person, apologize, much apologize. We didn't realize it. Sorry, but we're still back in the game. So that's what I want you guys to learn from this. I can never thank Freddie Gibbs enough. It was a huge thing and a great favor on him in that regard. Great compliment, but we're pushing. So thank you, and we appreciate it, and we appreciate people hearing our message and going forward. So yeah, thank you so much. Got another comment here. I don't want to say his name, but because it's personal, but I can relate to you on how poverty affects you. I learned early on that having a family is expensive. Oh, trust me on that one. And I find solace in being alone because I always told myself that it saves more money. Not true. You're actually going to spend more money because you're going to do things to try and fill up the loneliness. So not good. Same comment there. I can't be alone anymore. It's detrimental to your mental health. Absolutely. Do not be alone. Statistics. I mean, here, you want to talk about being alone? Go to prison and be in solitary confinement for 23 hours a day. They did studies. It's not anything new. Every person that was in lockup for 23 hours a day for less than, close to a year had significant mental health problems, including depression, basically schizophrenia with the voices without real schizophrenia, but the brain actually changed. Being alone is not a good way to live. You need people. You need a family. Hopefully one day you'll have the blessings of having children. You need relationships. You need people to give you something of warmth and kindness. So that's not a way you want to go. So I'm definitely against that. But I understand what you're saying, that having a family is expensive. The one thing that you could injure me with, and to this day I still feel this way, the one thing that could destroy me the most is not having money. That's it. That's my biggest fear in life, is to wake up one day and I have nothing. I am obviously a saver. I don't spend money on myself. I mean, I'm wearing clothes, obviously, but nothing fancy, nothing extravagant. I'm not saying, I believe me, I've shopped at a place called Savers, which in Vegas is like a low-cost clothing place. Goodwill, no fear, no embarrassment. That's it. Doesn't bother me because I'm always thinking about my family. And like this commenter said, how expensive it is. I'm always like, my family, my family, my family, my family, my family. That's it. That's the one thing that would crush me if I woke up broke. I don't know how I could live. I would feel like a loser. I'd have no self-respect for myself, no self-esteem. And I go back to being to that frightened, scared kid in Brooklyn, and trying to cope and always looking for ways to scratch a couple of bucks here and there. Now, something I had to do when I was 12. And this is, I was walking home with my friends from school, and I'm passing by another apartment building. That's Brooklyn's filled with them. And I see this super janitor trying to move these trash cans to the curb, which is like, in this case, like 50, 60 cans. And I don't know why. And so I'm going to talk about a little bit later. I said to the man, do you need any help? And he looked at me and said, yeah. And I worked for him for like a year till I went to high school. And I would go there like twice a week and move the trash cans and put them on the curb. I was a big kid. And he paid me, I think back then, $15 a week. And I think for Christmas, I got like 15 plus another 15. I thought I was rich. I was so excited to have money in my pocket, not to have to bother my mother because we were so poor. And that's what I remember, just being ashamed and just trying to figure myself out. Now, what saved me indirectly from getting into serious trouble as a kid, because I had a temper, a lot of pent-up anger and embarrassment, which often leads into what kids today I see, which drives me nuts, is they get tagged with the ODD, oppositional defiant disorder, and antisocial. And I'm like, why? And then I talk to them, and I'm like, I sleep in the bathtub. Okay, most therapists are like, oh my God, that's a CPS call right there, No, why do you sleep in the bathtub? Because when the bullets ricochet, they can't go through porcelain. And in my bedroom, they can go through the window, and I've heard of my friends being shot and wounded or even killed. So my mother makes me sleep in the bathtub when she hears the ping, ping, ping of ricochets. I get it. It's not crazy to me. It might chip the porcelain. It's not going to go through the porcelain. So I sleep in the bathtub. I get it. Someone says to me, I got to go through several blocks to get to my elementary school. There are homeless people there. And sometimes they prey on little kids like me. They grab us and hurt us. I've heard that enough times. Or I have to walk through a gang-infested territory, and either they say to me, either you join, or we'll beat the heck out of you, or we'll hurt you. And I don't want to walk an extra 2 miles out of my way. Or my stepdad, my mother's boyfriend of the month club membership member, is molesting me, is touching me, is fondling me. But girls tell me that dozens of times. Where there's no food in the refrigerator. Or, my mother is seriously mentally ill and she's also a drug addict. So of course the kid's going to act out. I wear the same pair of pants every week, and the kids make fun of me. They call me smelly pants because I smell, and that we don't pay the water bill. We live in our car. So how could you be ODD, oppositional defiant disorder, antisocial? I get what poverty can do to you. It makes you angry, makes you bitter, makes you frustrated, and makes you ticked off. And you take it out on the world because you're a kid. You don't know any better to realize the adults in your life are not doing right by you. So that's when the kids will sometimes throw in my face, like, you can't relate because you're white, you're Jewish, something on your head. I'm like, in my head, like, man, you don't know what I've been through. And that's what I say to them. You don't know where I've been. You're just working off a stereotype, which is really dumb to do. This is your first life lesson. Don't follow stereotypes because they're often dumb. Then, okay, I'm on the same page now. Are we listening to each other? And they start looking at you differently because you're not getting sucked into that. I've been through that stuff, not maybe on the level you've had, but in my own way. Yeah, I dealt with a lot of that craziness too, and a lot of street fights because I grew up in a neighborhood which at that time was 50-50, was heavily Italian. And walking home from school, I was in a lot of fights. What saved me, though, honestly, from getting into really serious trouble was, as a young kid, I had bad eyesight. Even as a little guy, I got glasses. I think I was 10. I got my first pair of glasses. Been wearing them ever since. I was embarrassed to get into a fight because if I got my glasses broken, my mom would have a really hard time paying for them. So I was always careful not to get in. I could have gotten into a lot more fights. I try and talk my way out of it, or walk away from a fight with like, you suck, man, all kinds of comments to me. And I'd be burning up in anger. But I'm like, if I get my glasses broken, my mom's going to have a fit. She really can't afford another pair. Even though, so we had insurance on some level, I just could not do it to my mother. Thank God. If I didn't have glasses, I probably would have been in a lot more serious trouble than I got into. Nothing crazy, nothing overt. But that's what poverty does to you. It limits you in what you can do with your life because you become afraid to take chances and you get very, very insular. We got some comments here. Same ones. The floor is open right now, guys. You got questions? I got plenty of things to talk about. But you guys got anything you want to say? Now's the time to ask. Anything you want to ask. I'm pretty much an open book by now. You guys know my MO. You want to ask questions? Feel free to do so. I'm here to listen. So that really was my childhood till I hit high school. Just an unhappy, just I remember my dad would come home. It was always like the tension level would rise. Like, what's he going to be like tonight? Is he going to be in a good mood? Is he going to be in a bad mood? When you're around somebody that's angry and bitter and frustrated over their own life, you never can predict their moods. One of the things that people will tell me about myself, which is a compliment, is like, you're always the same. You're always upbeat. You're always smiling. You're always friendly, even if things are crazy around you. That's what I try to be, because people look for that. And sometimes at one time I was acting like an idiot, and someone said to me, you know what, Bruce, I don't see you like that. The other people act like idiots, but that's not you. So can you go back to being the Bruce that I know that I can rely upon? Other people can be morons and dopes and talk stupid, but that's not how you come across. You come across as measured and thoughtful. Can you go back to being that Bruce? That's the Bruce that I know. And as I've gotten older, I find myself drawn to those kinds of people, men and women, that are like even keeled. I can't deal with like the ups and downs. It's too exhausting. I went through that with my father. And I've been around other people like that very mercurial with their moods, like up and down, up. I don't want to deal with that. I want to be around people that are productive, that are going forward, that are driven. And that's how I want people to be. So any questions now about my childhood, ask away, what it did to me, how I saw myself religiously, ask away. Got a question here from Humble Dom. Are you spiritual or religious? You know what? Damn, that's a good question. I got to say a combination of both. I mean, I grew up Jewish. Obviously, you see my yarmulke on my head. But I have a hard time with religion because I didn't get a lot out of religion because I didn't answer a lot of my questions. Like, how could you live like this? And there's a famous question that a rabbi wrote, like, basically, how could God do things? How could God do bad things? Why does God do bad things to good people? I'm kind of paraphrasing it. Oh, sorry. Why do bad things happen to good people? And his take on it was, this is a book about 40 years ago, was that God could control small things, but he doesn't have the power to control big things like an earthquake or a war. That's too much for God to handle. And it got a lot of controversy, blah, 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 blah. I didn't really buy into that. That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. That if you're believing in an omnipresent God, whatever your version of God is, that he can only do certain things. And what? He's off on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It doesn't work after 5 o'clock on Saturdays. That doesn't make sense to me. So if I pray for the Jets to win, which didn't always happen a lot growing up, and God didn't come through, then therefore he couldn't come through with other things as well. That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I do believe there's a higher power. And I've been through so many horrible things in my life that I have to understand also that there are things that are out there that I can't relate to. So that are beyond my comprehension to understand. That will happen after my demise. I'll hopefully get some clarity of why things occurred the way they did. So there is part of me that follows the laws, follow the commandments the best I can. But at the same time, I look at things spirituality as well. Like, I find you got to have something that's faith-based on some level. Whatever you want to believe in, I'm not really like, I know people are obsessed with like, are you this? Are you that? Are you that? I don't really care. Whatever finds you content, that gives you some kind of solace to your life, that brings you together, I think is powerful. I'm going to get to you. That threw another question out there. But we do assessments at the hospital. I've worked at different places. It's always a question a lot of times of, are you religious? You have any kind of religious belief system? Over 90% of people with mental illness, when people that come into hospitals will say, I have no affiliation with God. I am not involved at all with any kind of organized religion. America and around the world, there's definitely been a decline in organized religion, and for a lot of good reasons. The scandal with the priests, a lack of faith in Catholicism, people are saying things like, even in my own faith, Judaism, just some terrible things have happened. The people have lost a lot of respect for rabbis. I'm sure the Muslims can have their own issues. They could bring things up. So, you start to question, well, who am I really following? What am I really getting out of this? People say they turn to Buddhism. That makes more sense. I get it. Religion is on the decline in America and around the world. Young people will say, I don't get it. My parents went to it. I'm not devout anymore. I don't like the rituals. It costs too much. But I try and look for myself as kind of having a hand in both camps, a foot in both camps, I should say, spiritual as well as being, religious and following the dictums of my faith. Okay, another question came in. Also, what keeps you happy? Or how do you stop other people from affecting your mood? This came from Humble Don again. Here's what I learned. Happiness comes from yourself. You got to learn to like yourself. I'm realizing more and more, and this is kind of really why I want to talk about where I'm going with these live streams, is I want to go into water that's deeper and darker than we've gone before. And I want to talk about things ultimately on a live stream level about the three big ones. To me, the MVP of mental health is sexual, physical, and verbal abuse. And really start to talk to people about how these things affect you and how it damages you, how it shatters you. And I want to start giving people advice and clinical perspective on how to go to get yourself healed. And I'll be honest, it's not an easy thing to do. You take a mirror and you smash it. I've seen people do this as an artistic project. Let's say on this table that I'm sitting by, and they smash a table in a towel, and then they put it back on their wall as like an artistic piece. All the pieces should symbolically still be there and physically there. But you look at the mirror, there are already pieces missing, fragments that you can't put back. So I can't say I can make people whole, but I want to try. I don't want people to have to hit the wall at 80 miles an hour like I did. I'd much prefer you hit the wall at, say, 40 miles an hour, where rather than going through the windshield and being dead on impact, you get through maybe with a concussion. I want people to start to heal, to grow, to learn from my mistakes. This is another thing why I'm doing this tonight also, is that I want people to realize a lot of times with therapy and counseling, the therapist is omnipresent. They're God. They've done nothing wrong in life. They have a perfect life. Or they say in their bio, and Bruce, what does he do? He loves to go bike riding, catch sunsets, and he's just an outstanding person at board games. What? Who cares? Where she's not just a therapist, she's also a blogger and makes incredible homemade brownies that people just die for. She's a whiz. What? When he competes in Scrabble tournaments. What do I care? That's not relevant. What you guys have been through, in a lot of ways, I've been through, where I've been through similar situations that when you tell me something that's scary to you or frightening to you, I've been there. I'm relatable because I've been there and I've seen it and I've done that and I screwed up at it. I don't want people to have to do that anymore. That's why we're going towards the live streams more and more, the monetization aspect of it, because we're going to start doing some real work online. And I want everyone to participate, and that's how we're going to grow the channel and take it to new heights. And that's where I want to go with this. Some questions have popped in. So that's how I want to say that. So I've learned and I've gotten away. If I get time, I'm going to go over this why, some things I want you to understand. I've gotten away from the haters, the doubters, the racists, the know-it-alls. I don't want to be around those people. I want to be around people that are progressive, that are doing things, that are aggressive, that are trying to improve their life and those around them. What they call a PMOS. I came up with that, that acronym, productive members of society. That you're doing something productive, that you're aggressive. I see people now selling their merch online. I'd love to put that on a hoodie or on a t-shirt. PMOS. Productive members of society. What are you doing to make the world around you a better place? What are you doing? So being around people, I grew up with people like that. My dad was always very negative. It's not going to work. It's going to fail. Don't try. You might be successful. Yeah. So what do you get? Somebody who's anxiety ridden. Great. Versus try it. Even if you fail, you learn something. Give it your best shot. That's what I want to see. I tell a lot of times, I tell kids this in high school, I want you to be a 40-40 player if you're playing sports. What's a 40-40 player? Something new, something different. That you play when they're 40 points ahead, when they're 40 points behind. That's it. So if they're losing in the football game 50-6, well, 50 minus 6 is 44. You would fit in. You go in for the last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter, you get a couple of grass stains, and you go run off the field. And the score is still 50-6. Who cares? Or you're playing basketball and your team is up 80-33. Well, that's 47 points. You see, that's another good number. Go in for the last minute and a half. You might foul somebody. Maybe you'll make 1 out of 2 foul shots. Go off to, go take your shower. Who cares? Not everybody can be a star, but at least you can say you competed, you played, you were on a team, you learn friendships, you learn about relating to other people, you learn about trying. That's the kind of people I tell kids all the time to be. Be a 40-40 person. Who cares? You got a letter, you're going to meet people, you're going to boost your popularity, you're going to feel good about yourself. Take chances. I'm going to stress that over and over again. Don't be idle in life. Don't be a spectator. You got to be a participant. Can't stress that enough. Okay, so I hope that answers that question for you, Humble Don. Colt Harris. Hi, Bruce. Hope you're doing well and love the live stream. Colt, I recognize your name. Bang, bang, bang. You're a huge supporter. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Everyone signing in tonight, commenting tonight. I want to say this again and again and again. We would not be here without you guys because someone made Freddie Gibbs aware of this video that we shot last week. It wasn't me. I know my producer put it out last week, but we only got the click today. So somebody out there in cyberspace sent it to the right person, that Freddie Gibbs saw it. And that's why we got the shout out today. So guess what? I appreciate what Freddie Gibbs did. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you. But one of you listeners made it happen because he felt a connection to us and felt that he should see it. And we've talked about before about the power of connections. So there you see it in real life, guys, how when you look to be around people and you look out to do right by other people, they do right by you in ways you never imagined. And by the way, if the person listening now, where you guys know this person that made that video connection happen, have them contact us because we want to thank them personally because it's much appreciation that a fan did what they did. So thank you. Okay, now, hope we're okay. And then, and then Coulter, another comment. He said, talking about some ceremonial high magic is really interesting. It doesn't require outside faith. Basically Buddhism, but in a westernized context, because a lot of Eastern tenets you got to learn from scratch. Here's my line. Do it. If that gives you solace, that gives you something to fill your life with on a positive level, do it. Buddhism, when I was growing up, was like no one ever heard. I mean, you heard of it, but no one took it seriously. It's become a lot more popular due to the Dalai Lama and a lot more interest in it. If it makes you feel fulfilled and it gives you something to hold on to in life, check it out. Who am I to make fun of it? If you get something out of it, I'm happy it's working for you. And it's called Ceremonial High Magic. Hey, if it works, perfect. Low Nope. Hey there, first live stream and able to catch. Hope you're doing well. Thank you. Thank you, Lowell. New guy, and we really like it. Much, much, much appreciation. We're always looking for new. Another comment came in. Do you have any coping mechanisms for dealing with stress or anxiety? Thank you for your response. That's exactly the question we're looking for. Here's the answer. I've learned this, again, the hard way, so you don't have to. Albert, if you get something out of this tonight, then this is what I want you to take home with you. When it comes to stress or anxiety, here's what I've learned. If you cannot control the situation because it's out of your control, it's a higher level than you, let it go. Let it go. You can't control it. But if you can control something, then you need to be responsible. These live streams go off at 5:30 West Coast time. I don't need my producer to say to me, Bruce, are you here? Are you here? Are you here? He has enough stress in his life. I don't want to give him any more stress, and I appreciate the hell of what he does for me. So guess what? He says, let's make it 5:30 because I was having a hard time getting here at 5. There was some nights it was a little, nip and tuck. I said, fine, 5:30, you're right. And I've never been late because I respect his time. I respect what he does. and I respect what he's done for the channel. So can I control that? Yes. Hey, I shaved. Why? Because I want to look presentable for you guys. That's something I can control. That's what I want you to understand. If you can control a situation by your actions, whatever that situation is, go to school on time, show up at work on time, be appropriate with your family, try something new. You can control that. That's your job. If you can't, if it's beyond your control, let it go. 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 And don't let it bother you. And you'll sleep a lot better at night. That's all. Hope that answers your question, Albert. Anyone else right now? We got plenty of time. Throw it down. Throw it down. Any questions you want, I'm here to listen. Albert, I hope that answer gave you some understanding of it. And don't, like I said, stress you can't control. If there's, like, say you go for a job interview, example, there's 15 people that applied, you're number 8. Did you do the best you could? Were you on time? Were you dressed appropriately? Did your resume rock? Did you look presentable? Was it the right outfit? Did you ask follow-up questions? Did you ask out what advancement opportunities there are? Did you sell yourself? Did you explain how you handle this in your last job and how you took care of this in your other job? How you're a team player. You got a great sense of humor. Nothing bothers you. If you did the best you could, did you research the company before you went there? How many employees? What their sales are? What are their most impressive products? Did you do your homework? You don't get the job? Okay. But you gave it your best effort. That's why when people say to me, I always say to them, did you leave anything on the field? Because if you did, and you know if you did or not, I tell us to athletes, were you in shape? Are you smoking weed? Did you lift weights? Did you listen to the coach? Were you focused? Did you prepare for the team? Did you show the leadership that you need to show on the field for the 2 scouts that came from out of state? Did you do the best you could? Then if you lose the game on a last-second field goal, go shower. You did the best you could. That's what I say to people. If you can control it, great. If not, let it go. Some questions popped in here. Gilo, Toronto. Hey, Bruce, much love from the Windy City. We get a lot of Windy City fans, I noticed. Where in Chicago are you from? I'm just kind of curious, Gilo. Let me know. Beautiful city. I've been there once or twice. I'd love to go back and just do some more exploring. So, again, before we go on, because I see we're already getting close to time here, anyone else have any questions about childhood? Does this ring a bell with you guys? Does this kind of remind you of certain things? You want to ask me anything specific about my childhood, my relationship with my parents? Let me know. I'm here to listen. Just add a couple of side notes. What happened is I developed a lot of empathy for people. And I realized how much my mother was really trying to do for myself and my sibling. So I really began to understand what it meant to look at something through someone's eyes. That's an important skill to learn. I talked about that with aspiring therapists too, is they'll say, well, I don't know how to relate to this person. They're different age, different ethnicity, different religion, different socioeconomic background, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Yeah. So how do you get through to them? I just sit there. Okay. Dead session. I look at it through their eyes. How do they perceive things? What have their experiences been? They're not going to necessarily be my experiences, but if I can look at it through their eyes, no problem, I'm in. Then all of a sudden, all that anxiety, all the stuff that people are going to bring up, like you can't relate, you can't talk, you're too insecure. Nah. I look at it through their eyes. I looked at it through my mother's eyes, and she was always embarrassed, always humiliated. Her dreams of having a house never happened. One thing I remember about my mother, and I could go on like this for hours. After my mother died, she died way before my dad, and my sister, to her credit, my sibling, cleaned all the stuff out of the apartment. My mother had saved things in the hope that she would be able to put it into a house. Like she would buy things and put them away, and my sister would oh my God, this is yellowed, this is wrinkled, this is faded, this is now torn, oh, this is separated. It's just garbage. My mother bought those things, I realize now, to make herself feel that her dream was still there. Even though it was fading every year, she wanted to think that one day she could hang this curtain up in her own bathroom, so to speak. She could have the towels that she wanted. She could put a print on the wall. Might have been a cheap print, but at least it would have remedied, like, this is my space. This is what I did. So she bought a lot of stuff that over time she forgot about, that my sister did all the cleaning up, just basically threw out. But this is a way of keeping her dream alive. And sometimes I go into houses and I'll see people do things, and I've had people say that to me, women in particular. I like nice things. I want to have a nice house. I like my house to be clean. I dream of having a yard one day. I want people to come over to my house and play in the backyard. I want to have a piece of the American dream. I have a soft spot in my heart for single women, or moms that are really roughing it with stupid men, or boyfriends, husbands or boyfriends, and I get it. They're like, I wish I had this for my kids. I wish I could take my kids on a real vacation. I understand the angst and the unhappiness. My mother carried that around with her whole life till she passed away. So I didn't look at it as like, the manifestations of a rambling old lady. It was a way of her making feel that she still had value as a woman, and that one day she might get her dream. Some questions popped in here. Low note. So I'm a college student and I create a structure schedule to help me get through my depression. I'm sorry, apologize. Since COVID, I came home, but I feel I'm going back to my depressive state. Okay, what can you do? Great question. Here's what I tell people like this. I'm going to say three things, not in any particular order. One, get a schedule. Don't do the vampire hours. Don't be up all night and sleep during the day. Self-destruction. Keep to a schedule. That's it. Keep to a schedule. So your sleep has to be consistent. So what I'm saying is, go to bed at night and don't do the vampire. Don't play video games till 4 a.m. Not healthy, because it's going to mess up your circadian rhythm and you're going to have a lot of problems. So don't do vampire hours. Not good. Have a schedule. So in the morning, you shower, you shave, you get breakfast. What is your routine? What is your schedule? Fill it up with something. So, because you're going to go back. You're going to go back to school one day. Everything's going to hopefully get fixed sooner than later. But you're going to take classes, if not classes in face-to-face, you're going to take classes online. So what are you filling your schedule with? That's huge. Okay? Finally, number 3, who are you hanging around with? You hang around with people who are not going to college, who have no ambition, smoking a lot of drugs, doing a lot of heavy drinking, vampire hours. They're not going to go anywhere. Find people that are that are motivated, that are doing something, and get started. If you're home, this is an answer for all the college kids out there and all the high school kids. If you can, find something to fill up your day, whether it's a part-time job, whether it's volunteering. I know with COVID, of course, things are different, obviously. But what can you do to fill up your day with something pro-social? Not negative, not self-destructive. Don't do anything that's going to be self-destructive, because that will mess you up. So, again, for everyone listening, no more vampire hours. Go to bed at a normal time. Have a schedule that includes appropriate hygiene, too. Don't wear the same underwear 4 days in a row. Not a good look, not a good sign. Change your clothes, brush your teeth, take your showers. All right? And then finally, get that schedule, fill up that schedule, and also don't be around people that are doing nothing. Fill up your day with things that can be more appropriate. And if you're home, how is your relationship with your family? Could it be improved upon? Now's the time. Take a walk with your mom. Take a walk. Well, you can't like a walk here in Vegas, but 150 degrees outside. But if you can, take a walk with your mom. Take a walk with your dad. Get closer to your siblings. Use the time wisely, because this time will go by very quickly, more quickly than you realize. Make every second count. Hope that answers that question, and let us know how you think about it. Hey, we got something from Triggered Honda Boy. Hey, Bruce, ever think about reviving some Joy? Joji. Okay, he has had a heck of a history on this site, but has really been through some rough patches with mental health and drugs. Love the streams. Keep it up. Yeah, I mean, we'll check it out. Yeah, do me a favor. Tell us which specific songs they are, because sometimes some people will say things like, "Can you check out this artist?" And it's like 60 songs. Which two songs do you like? That's always helps me out. Then I could kind of review the music. So which two songs do you like? And let me say this also about this to people listening too. I have been amazed. I've always been interested in music. I've listened to music since I was a little kid. And I thought I knew everything about music. I knew every band there was. Wrong. I've gotten so many requests from different artists from every genre, from country to pop to emo to rap to industrial punk, industrial rap, everything you can think of, classical. And you know what? It's broadened me. I've learned about so many different genres of music. So keep on sending to me. If I don't know that album, I don't know that artist, that's fine. Nothing to be embarrassed about. I like listening to new music all the time. So let me know which particular songs, and I'll go from there. Not happy to do it. Love the streams. Keep it up. Thank you so much. Thank you. I want to thank everybody for all the positivity. So now I think I've kind of exhausted the idea of my childhood, delightful and depressing that it was. And if you have any questions, you can still ask them. Don't worry about it. Or if you have any questions you want to ask on the comments after the live stream is over, feel free to do so as well. And if you have a point that you want to bring up and you want to get my perspective on it or my take on it, not a problem. Happy to listen. Happy to give you my advice on what I did right. And oh boy, what I did wrong as well. Okay. Now, Charlie had asked this next one. So Charlie, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get as many things as I can, but a lot of topics are coming up. So what advice would you have for younger and older generation? And a great question. And there are things definitely when you're younger you got to do versus when you're older, hopefully you know certain things already. But I'm just going to kind of share them and kind of break it down what I think would reflect from someone who's younger or older, where it works for both. Okay, number one, and this is something that's important as a younger person because you're kind of learning your identity and who you are. Don't follow the crowd. Okay? Learn to trust yourself. Don't ever get locked into mind lock where because you're a certain religion, you're a certain ethnicity, you're a certain race, you're a certain color, you're a certain neighborhood, that you have to follow what they say blindly. That is self-destruction at its worst. Because that people will say things to you all the time from a groupthink perspective that are stupid. And a lot of times when you follow group thinking, you know what it can end up into? Hitler. You know, that's an extreme, but that's what happens. You get demonized because you start thinking like this is the only way it happens. Don't follow the crowd. Even from an early age, I was interested in other kinds of people. I couldn't, you know, from a Judaism standpoint, there's an expression called B'Tselem Elokim. We're all created in the image of God. That doesn't just mean Jewish people. That also doesn't mean just white Jewish people, because there are plenty of Jews that are black, plenty of Jews that are brown, plenty of Jews that are yellow. And I'm sure if they went to the planets and, you know, Sector 9, Warp 13, next to the planet Pluto, they got Jews there too, who have 6 tentacles, 9 arms, and 63 eyes. Guess what? We all look the same. We all look different. We all have the same faith. I never got into that stuff, like because of those stupid stereotypes. Black people are this way. Jewish people are like this way. Latino people, you know, Hispanics like this way. It's stupid to me. Even as a kid, that made no sense to me. I met a lot of people from a lot of different races, and I enjoy that. And I like to be open-minded in meeting people. If you're a jerk, you could be a jerk in any color, you know. And if you're a nice person, you could be a nice person in any color too. It's irrelevant to me. People get obsessed about the skin color. I get that. But no, don't follow the crowd. If everyone says to you, don't do this because it's bad. There's been so many stupid superstitions since the first man that have caused people unimaginable grief. Don't follow the crowd. Be your own person. Seek things out. Okay? Now, next thing. So be your own person. As much as possible, that's a young person thing, but it's just in general a rule of life for everybody. Seek out new experiences. Try new things. I get tired of people saying things like, I eat the same foods. I vacation at the same place. I only hang out with the same people. I don't go there because those people are there. Or I'll never go there because that's crazy. That's nuts. You're walling yourself out. It's like almost like you're ghetto-sizing yourself. Go try different things. And I try to do that as much as possible growing up. Like, what's a different neighborhood look like than mine? Take a bus. Now, sometimes I guess wrong. I had to run for my life. But I want to try out this park. I want to go check out a museum. I want to go see what the ocean looks like here. Try different things. My biggest regret, I didn't do more of that growing up, but I was so insecure and so worried. I tried to be like my father and wasted so much stupid time worrying about this and getting into trouble over dumb things when I should have been saying things like, I want to go check this out in Jersey, to me, New Jersey, where I want to go into the tip of the Bronx. I want to go here. I want to go here. I want to go here. I wish I would have done more of that. Have as many life experiences as you can. As you get older, responsibilities click in. There's just reality. You got a wife, you get kids, you get a mortgage, life sets in. So if you're footloose and fancy free, go explore. If you can, go with friends to enhance the experience. If not, do it yourself. Just one example, I'm going to answer the question here. I always wanted to do skydiving, and I could find no one to go with me. What did I do? I think I was maybe 19 years old, 20. I called up, found a place in New Jersey that would do it. I went skydiving. Boom. Just did it. I never did it again. I wish I did do it again, but at least I can say I know what it's like to skydive. So I'm just saying to you, try as many new experiences as you can. And that includes from meeting new people, trying new food, and going places. See what is out there. The more you see what's out there, the less you're going to get sucked in because you've experienced it. So don't get caught up in that, like, oh, no one goes there, or I never vacation there, or I never take a class like that. Experience as much as you can. Question popped in. Somali Kem. Hey, thank you. You've responded before. Hey, Bruce, I was wondering, what do you do to establish a connection with another person? Great question. Here's the answer. How you doing? My name is Bruce Muffson. Let's say I'm an LCSW. Nice to meet you. Or, hey, Bruce Muffson, nice to meet you. What's your name? Always with a sense of confidence. Always be the aggressor. That's it. I never worry about it anymore. If it's a work situation that involves me to explain who I am, hey, how you doing? Bruce Muffson, LCSW. How can I help you? Who's going to say no to that? And if it's a new person, how you doing? Bruce Muffson, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Unless you're a real jerk and have a real problem with people, where you really hate me because you see a yarmulke on my head, you're going to be like this. Hi. It's disarmed people. I think that sometimes we're looking at me in a hostile way, like, gee, he came across so calm, so relaxed, so confident. How can I say no to this guy? Let me at least listen to what he has to say. I've walked into homes where I could definitely feel the tension when they saw this face. And I'm like, hey, Bruce Muffson, LCSW, I'm here to do an assessment. How can I help you? No more tension. Oh, and by the way, if you want to know how this works with women, real simple. Hi, Bruce Muffson. I think you're very attractive. What's your name? What's worse that can happen? I have a boyfriend. I'm married. Leave me alone. You're a loser. You repulse me. You make me sick to my stomach. You're gross. You're fat. You're stupid. I've had all that said to me. Shot down. But you know what? I asked the question. That's it. Don't be intimidated. Go up to somebody and start the conversation. Don't be creepy. Don't be weird. Don't be bizarre. But introduce yourself. Because here's what I want you to think about. You'd be surprised how many people are wishing someone would come up to them. They don't have the confidence. They don't have the self sense of like self-worth. I've seen this happen. People say to me all the time, I'm so happy you came up to me. I'm so happy you said something. I'm so happy you brought this up. Even in counseling, I always joke with my agent / producer when I walk into a home, like a lot of times people are like, oh, no, you're a wonderful young man. Oh, you're so pleasant to talk to. You're delightful. No, you really are a horrible person. I see a future I'm looking into the future, the crystal ball. I see a lot of connections with bail bondsmen, attorneys, people with badges, a lot of badges and things around their neck as probation, parole officers, halfway houses. That's what I see for your future, the way you're going. That's how I see it. Be honest. Be truthful. People want to hear the truth. They don't want you to blow smoke and pretend that you're being something that's not. Say the truth. At this rate, I see your first overdose in about 2 years. And by 5 years from now, you will be a corpse. Yeah, that's how I see things if you don't change your attitude. And people will say to me over and over again, you're the first person that ever spoke to me directly and the truth, and you didn't sugarcoat it. Thank you. That's it. You didn't lie to me. At the way you're going, with the way you're spending money, I see a future of bankruptcy for you. And ramen noodles. You'll learn to love ramen. High salt content, but still delicious. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Okay. Hope that answers your question. Triggered Honda Boy. If you're interested, you could check out the music videos. Okay, here we go. Run, Slow Dancing in the Dark. So make sure you look up his YouTube channel after. Thank you. Thank you. Always looking for new music. Always interested in new stuff. I'm going to write that down and go from there. Thank you. Much appreciation. Okay, anyone has any questions? We're almost done at the end, and I'm kind of still at number 2, best advice. Let me get 1 or 2 more in, and that's it. Don't be around haters, doubters, and never-doers. Have dreams, ambition. Have dreams. Have ambition. Don't self-sabotage. I say this all the time. If things are going bad, don't make it worse. Like if you lost your job, don't get loaded and hit somebody. That's crazy. Don't turn to drugs. Don't turn to self-destructive relationships. If things are bad, don't take on more water. You want to get rid of the water. Don't take on more problems. Like in Vegas, you lost your job. You got your last check of $800. I know. I'll go to the casino. I'll make it back double. And then you lose $750, and you're losing your mind. Don't do it. Don't be self-destructive. No secrets. I've learned this also. This thing I wish I would have learned as a kid. I grew up in a house filled with secrets. Don't tell the truth. I know why my mother did this. It was a survival technique. She was so embarrassed on how we were living. I got that. But I made it a policy when I got older. I had to learn how to reflect on that better, but I don't like keeping secrets. I tell the truth. I learned it with my kids. I don't always want to hear the truth. So I had to temper it and kind of step back and realize they're not mentally there to hear that kind of stuff. But with adults, don't keep secrets. Tell the truth. So much in life I find in these houses, yeah, she was always being molested, but we kept it a family secret. Great. Now she committed suicide and now she's dead. Good job. That really helped. He was always using drugs, but we didn't want to let his mother know because it would kill her. Well, he died and she's dead from the shock. Not good. He was always spending money at the strip club and taking money out of the business. I didn't want to say anything. Well, now you're bankrupt. You didn't get him help. He's an addict. So secrets. If your kid is having problems mentally, socially, there's cognitive issues, don't say things like he'll grow out of it. That's just Timmy. Because what you're doing is setting up for a lifetime of failure. Get him help now. Address the problem. No, don't wait till he's flunking out of high school twice and now has a nice record of juvie for problems that could have been maybe rectified when he was 5 or 6. Now you wait until he's 17, 18, it's too late. 18, he's seen as an adult in a lot of areas. The consequences get a lot more severe. And I tell people, if you don't be honest with your kids and do right by your kids now, they're going to find out from somebody else who's not going to be their parent, and they're going to really struggle having to learn what real consequences in life are. So no secrets, please. So self-destructive. Destroys marriages, destroys relationships, destroys kids, it destroys generations of people with those secrets. Let people know the truth. I'm going to close with this. All right. Salman Khan. All right. Thank you for that answer. No problem. Glad it helped you out. I'm going to say 3 last things. I'm going to call it a night, guys. And I'm going to have to expand on these, a little bit more. Steal from others, 1. And then not in any ranking. Find a mentor and be curious. Okay, just real quick. I got to really go and take more time for them. But here's what I want you to understand. When I say steal from others, If you're not sure on how to act or how to handle yourself, watch how other people do it and steal from them. I have stolen from a lot of people in my life when I didn't have the confidence in how to control the situation. How did he do it? How did she do it? And now people say to me, I watched you, Bruce, how you handle the situation. And because of you, I developed so much more confidence in myself, how to work a room, how to talk to people I didn't know. I watched you. Well, I learned from some real experts and some real all-stars what they were doing right and what they were doing wrong. So if you're not getting it from your family, go find other people, how they talk, how they communicate, and steal from them and apply that to yourself. That's a compliment. You like how someone handles a situation. I've stolen from nurses, from probation officers. I've stolen from police officers. I've stolen from friends. I liked how they presented, how they kept the situation calm from escalating generally in my line of work, and how they did it or how they didn't do it. So steal from others. Number 2, find a mentor. Hello, right here, baby. That's where we're going with this. We're going to do classes on mentorship. Because when you have a mentor that's been through the wars, they can advise you. That's where we're going with the monetization part of it. This is gold. And I want people to start understanding that and appreciating it and saying like, wow, I'm learning from Bruce how to improve my life. I don't care where you're from, what you look like, what your background is. If you follow my directions, even if you fail, you can fail. It's impossible to fail because you learn how to become successful. So find a mentor who's been through it before you and that can advise and guide you. I cannot stress that enough. Last thing, and again, I'm not doing anything in real detail, but I want to go with the last one. Be curious. Never say like, I love to get out of my office, behind my desk, and see what's going on out in the community, on the streets. I'm curious. I'm always curious. Oh, people are going here. Let me check it out. People are eating here. Let me check it out. There's going to be a demonstration. Let me check it out. Oh, people are doing this stuff out here. Let me check it out. I don't care what field it is. Be curious. That's a huge way to survive in business. Don't be like, well, we've done it this way badly for 40 years. We're not going to change. Wrong. There's always people with new ideas, new concepts that are creative. Find them out, talk to them, learn from them. That's how you grow, and you'll make your life a lot more enriching. Last story, and I'll give a compliment thing. I had my producer once said to me something like, someone had said to me, did you hear about this new technique in therapy? He said, Bruce talked about it like 4 or 5 years ago already. I know it already. Yeah. Bruce talked about it. Yeah. Bruce brings up things like I never even thought about. So I've heard about this already. Yeah. You know why? Because I'm curious. As good as I am, and I have total confidence in myself, I can always get better. Almost every NBA player, by the way, has a shooting coach. You're thinking to yourself, like, why do they need a shooting coach? They're the greatest players in the world playing basketball. You know what they realize? They come out of college. They're good. If they want to last more than 2 seasons, they got to get better. Not good enough. Okay, you were, all SEC, all Pac-12, first team, first rounder. Okay? And you know what you realize? I'm not good enough to stick. If I don't get better, I'm going to be out of here in 2 years, play the rest of my career in Turkey. That's not a bad way to go, but that's not the NBA. It's not Madison Square Garden. That's what you got to learn. Like you swallow your pride, you get a shooting coach, you get a strength coach, and you take the game seriously because it humbles you. And the smart players do that. Guys come in football. Oh my God, I dominated in my tiny conference. Here, they're just as big, if not bigger than me. I got to get better. Got to lose weight, gain weight, learn how to do this, watch film. You grow. Same thing for me. I never take what I do for granted. And I'm always looking for new techniques, new insights, reading about different things. How can I grow as a therapist? How can I grow as a man? How can I grow as an innovator? How can I be more creative? I'm always looking to push that. So be curious. Okay, last question. Any questions? Feel free to say something. about to cut it short. I really need to go over the three of them again in more detail, but I wanted to catch those. And there's some other things I want to say about things I want people to be aware of. But again, let me just one last shout out. Freddie Gibbs, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Much, much, much appreciation for thinking of us and enjoying our video. Charlie Smith, you are an amazing person. You probably fell asleep in front of your computer with that London time. But you know what? You're a great guy. We're very up. You threw in a question. You stayed up. Thank you for the stream, Bruce. It means a lot. Hope you and your producer have a good night. Not a problem. And we're going to call it off with that. Thank you, Charlie Smith. You better stay in touch with us. That's a demand. And we want to hear about your life and your career. Everybody, thank you again. We got more stuff coming. And I'm glad everyone was watching. A lot of great comments tonight. All the best. Sign out from Bruce Muffson, LCSW, Sunridge of Nevada. Have a great one. Thanks.